Welcome, everyone, to the latest edition of the Sight Screen Cricket Journal podcast. I'm your host, Tawhid Qureshi, and today we're going to be talking all things related to the Under-19 Cricket World Cup, which has already begun. And in particular, we're going to be previewing and looking ahead to the clash between England and Bangladesh. And to talk through all of that is a guest who really couldn't be better placed actually to give us insights into how that encounter is going to be, how it's going to pan out tomorrow, because he is the batting coach for the England Under-19 team. He's out there at St Kitts as we speak. He is Toby Radford. Toby, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Good to see you again. I really appreciate you being on, because I can only imagine how busy you are. It's literally less than 24 hours, almost.
Yeah.
I don't know, what are we, 15, 16 hours away from the first ball being bowled in that crucial first game between England and Bangladesh, I'd say. Firstly, how's it all going out there? I mean, I'm particularly jealous that you're out in St Kitts at the moment.
In the sunshine and the heat. No, it's been good. We've been here for close on 2 weeks, actually. We had to do quite a long quarantine when we came in. We had probably 5 days of quarantine, lots of PCR testing, as you can imagine. And then gradually got into our training. We've had a couple of warm-up games, Papua New Guinea, UAE, and plenty of practice. So we're really ready now, I think, for the first game tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. And they're very early starts over here, so 9 a.m. In the morning. So it's an up early for the players, early to bed, and up early to hopefully fresh in the morning for a good game.
Indeed, yeah. I was going to ask you about that. Obviously, it's an early start tomorrow. So, I mean, what does the preparation entail? Sort of less than 24 hours before the game begins. Presumably, it was a very light kind of training session today.
Yeah,
just bits of fine tuning.
It is really. I mean, yesterday we had a very long session, a long net session, good fielding session. All the bowlers had a good run through. And the day before the game tends to be, the bowlers tend to have a very light, they don't do any bowling pretty much. Everyone has a hit. The coaches will do more flinging and throwing. And it's more kind of where what individual batsman wants. So some might want to do specific spin work. Some might, want a bit of pace. You work for them. Whereas in the lead up, a bit further out from the match, it would tend to be a bit more competitive, batters versus bowlers, scenario type stuff, tactical stuff. I think when you get to the day before a game, you like to think your preparation is pretty much all done. It's about players feeling in a good place. And for that, everyone's slightly different in terms of what they need to get there,
Sure. And as you were saying, presumably it will be a nice early night for everyone tonight.
It is. We've got a team meeting. We've got a meeting in about 45 minutes, sort of team meeting. A couple of little videos, I think, nice clips for the guys. We've done all our sort of tactical chats, I think. And then we've got a bit of a team meal, 7 o'clock, and then a buffet little meal, and then that's it. And then off to the ground tomorrow and play Bangladesh.
Good to go. Excellent. Well, I'll try not to keep you from your evening meal and the meetings and everything else. So just kind of broadening things out a little bit in terms of the Under-19 World Cup as a whole. I mean, my kind of perception is a little bit that compared to other countries, such as, in particular, countries from South Asia, England don't maybe take this competition as seriously as some of the other countries. Is kind of my probably uninformed opinion. But yeah,
I don't
what you think.
If that's been the case in the past, I genuinely don't think it's the case now. I mean, we took this team over to Sri Lanka just before Christmas. And in fact, we'd followed a tour where I think Bangladesh had been to Sri Lanka as well. And, we went to Colombo, very hot, very humid, tough conditions, pitches with no grass on it, quality spinners. I mean, it was a real test for our lads, where we won the first one day, I lost 3 in a row and then won the last one. So we ended up losing the series 3-2, which, to be honest, given the weather conditions, the humidity, the pitches, I think, was a decent result. And it's certainly a great learning experience, which is what it's all about at Under-19, isn't it? Yes, you want to win, but you're also trying to develop the best players of the future. And, I've been watching clips here on TV over the last couple of days, and, pictures of a young Virat Kohli, and you look at all these great players who come through, and they've got to come from somewhere, and they will tend to come from these under-19 teams. So I've no doubt there are some stars of the future in most of these teams. You just don't know quite who's going to go on at the moment. You have an idea, but you don't really know. So it's great to see them play, and there's some talent, certainly some real talent across the board.
Absolutely, and I think that's where a lot of the interest lies is spotting some of the stars of the future, as I'm sure we will be over the next kind of days and weeks. And I think you're absolutely right. I think under 19 age group level I guess it's always a bit of a tricky one, isn't it? Because there is that sort of balancing act between obviously wanting to win the games and the tournaments that you're entering, but also sort of preparing players hopefully for sort of the future and their future careers and kind of bigger and better things.
Well, definitely. I mean, England played West Indies last summer at home, so a tall sort of pace attack on English pitches. Then, as I said, went to Sri Lanka, quality spinners, good young Sri Lankan side on their own track. So that's all development for a player. And me as a batting coach, it's brilliant because you put them in these environments that they're not really used to playing on. You've got to find techniques to cope. We had to talk about how we were going to try and play those spinners on those pitches. And you've got to, for those players, they've got to learn on the job and learn quickly. So brilliant experience, brilliant. And next time, as I kept saying to them, it's not so much about how you deal with it at that time. It's if you go back to Asia, or when you go back to Asia next time, hopefully you've learned something and you quickly can make those adjustments. You don't have to think it and go through it all again. You've already been there and learnt now. Right, next time I face a good leg spinner in Asia, I just play with my guard or whatever it is that worked for you last time. So it's all valuable experience for them,
And I just guess one other thing from a coaching point of view in terms of coaching under 19s, is it a bit of a challenge in terms of, there's always going to be a big turnover of players because presumably, that group of players probably doesn't stay together for more than a couple of years at the most. So as a coach, is that a bit of a challenge where you're kind of facing quite a big turnover, I guess,
not so much. I mean, I think this group itself has been together probably a year or two. There's some younger ones on it, so you can get and they're very tight, and they have a lot of camps, they have tours, they have home series, so they play a lot of cricket together. I mean, this particular group gets on really well. I mean, it's a really nice group to work with. Good guys, all get on. There's no cliques, there's no awkward players. They all work hard together, so which is brilliant. And I mean, as I say, a lot of them have been together for some time now. Clearly, you'll get the odd one or two come in, and one or two will get too old and move on. But generally, you get them for long enough, I think, to hopefully have some kind of some kind of input with them, and then a new batch would come along, at the end of their cycle.
Sure, and then I guess, one other thing that I wanted to touch on actually was, I guess there's a bit of a personal journey for you because I saw you posted something up on social media a few days ago about being part of the Under-19 World Cup. What was that, back in, was it the early 90s? So
yeah,
I guess it's
1990.
So I guess it's quite a nice kind of personal journey for you, kind of going full circle now from representing the Under-19s to now sort of coaching them.
Well, it is. I mean, it's frightening in a way to look back on. It came up on my Facebook page. This somebody had posted the team sheets for New Zealand under-19s and England under-19s from the tour in 1989, 1990, which I was on. And you look down that sheet and you see Stephen Fleming is on there, Mark Butcher's on there, John Court. Some really fine players, And as I said before, that's what you hope's going to happen here, and I'm sure it will. There are going to be some big players coming through. So it is odd for me to think it's 30 years ago, and the team that I played in, I'm now coaching and working with, which is great. So yeah, very fond memories of lovely tours to New Zealand and Australia. I was very fortunate to have 6-week fully paid trips to Australia and New Zealand. You couldn't think of two better places to go as a 19-year-old to play your cricket.
Absolutely. It sounds absolutely idyllic, as you say, for someone so young as well. So let's kind of drill down then into the England team. I guess a lot of people won't be kind of overly familiar with a lot of the the players in the squad. So could you kind of pick out maybe just a couple of players who have really impressed you? I mean,
Yeah.
I guess from someone who's kind of looked at the squad from afar. Obviously, the captain there,
Yeah.
Press, who's I understand scored a triple century in second
Yeah.
11 cricket, which is quite an
For
achievement in
Hampshire,
itself.
yeah, for Hampshire last year, very free scoring, very natural player. Tends to score quite square the wicket, extra cover, mid wicket. But when he gets going, confidence is high. You know, he's good to watch. He's very easy on the eye. A young left-hander, Jacob Bethel, who West Indies could easily have had. He's moved over from the Caribbean, schools in England, and plays with Warwickshire. And he's another loss, really, to the West Indies because he's a fine young talent, left-handed top-order batter. Two players who played really well on the tour in Sri Lanka. A lad called James Rue, a left-hander, good sweeper, reverse sweeper again, played spin particularly well out there. And Will Luxton from Yorkshire, tall, blonde-haired, plays very straight. And it was interesting, and I speak to them about, there's more than one way to play. Both of them were very successful in Sri Lanka on those same pitches. Rue sweeping square the wicket, Will Luxton using his feet, hitting long on, hitting long off. So very different ways of doing it, but both came off really well. And I think it's a message really for coaching and for players that, you don't have to just do it all one way. It's what works for you and finding the method that works for you. So they are the four, I would say. But there are other players in and around there. James Sales, very good in the middle order. George Bell had a good start and looks in good form at the moment. Played very well against the UAE the other day. Held an innings together. We were 40 odd for 4, chasing sort of 190 odd, and his innings really held us together. So lots of batting. Bat very deep in the side, which is always nice if you don't quite get the start that you want.
Absolutely, and I think everyone's going to be really interested to see how all of those players perform. Particularly some of those batters that you were talking about there. And I think one of the good things in terms of everyone who's watching in the UK is that it's on a prime time slot on kind of Sky Sports Sunday afternoon. So I'm sure there'll be lots of kind of eyes tuned into that game. Just on that point, does that kind of, exert a bit of extra pressure on the players? Do they feel that, there's going to be lots of eyes on them, probably more people watching them play than has ever been the case before?
Yeah, I'm sure it does. I'm sure there's going to be some anxiety, but every player from every team will feel that. So, you've got to make your players aware that everyone's going to feel nervous. You're not alone. The opposition's going to feel nervous. So, and I think once you accept that it's not just you, then you can deal with that. I think. But it's play the ball, isn't it? Play the ball. Try to get into autopilot. Get into playing on instinct. And you've got to try and switch off from cameras or media or any of the other stuff that goes with it. Just play the ball. It's another game. Yes, it's you've got to be focused and switched on, but you've also got to enjoy it. You've got to play with a smile on your face. Wonderful opportunity, isn't it? To play for your country, and I think enjoy every moment of it. And I think if you're enjoying it, you can't then be over anxious or worrying too much about it.
Absolutely, and let's hope that is the case tomorrow. And yeah, so just in terms of tomorrow's game itself, obviously it's kind of crucial, I guess, to win, the first game. So the format is you're in a group of 4, the top 2 sort of qualifying to the quarterfinal Super League, as it's called. So yeah, presumably it's absolutely crucial that you do kind of get off to a winning start tomorrow.
Oh yeah, and against the side who are reigning under-19 world champions and the under-19s or the world champions from the last tournament is a team I actually work with part of the year, which has now become the high performance team in Bangladesh. So I work with that slightly older group. I know very little about this under-19s team. There's one player in there who I have done a bit of work with, the captain, Rakibul, the left-arm spinner. And I've been telling our guys that he bowls at good pace, and I've got a bit of insight there on him. But he's pretty much the only one. All the others, as I say, the players that I've worked with in Bangladesh have been a little bit older, and some of those have gone into the international side in various formats over the last year and done quite well. So, But yeah, so my only real insight with the 19s at the moment would be Rakibal, the captain and the left arm spinner, who's a good bowler, bowls it quickly.
Yeah, I was going to come on to that in terms of the time that you spent out in Bangladesh coaching out there at the high performance unit. In fact, I think the last time that we spoke, you were out in Dhaka and we were doing a podcast a couple of years ago now. I think it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, as you say, you've already worked with the Bangladesh captain of the under-19s, Rakibul. But presumably, even though you haven't kind of coached or worked with a lot of the others, presumably you've still, that insight that you got from working out in Bangladesh, coaching out there is something that can be used to good advantage for England.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you know that the quality of spinners that you get in that part of the world, they're used to bowling on pretty slow, flat tracks. The seamers have good discipline. They have to have good control because they don't get a lot of movement on those pitches because there's no real live grass on them. So you're going to have disciplined seamers. You're going to have spinners, high quality spinners. And we then, it's our job with England to find a way to score off them, and find least risk option to keep the scoreboard moving against those spinners. Where, as I said before, whether it's footwork, whether it's good sweeps, you've got to be your shot selection has to be very precise, and your execution has to be precise, doesn't it? And but the players have to find their method to pull the job off.
Well, certainly, as you were sort of describing there, that the captain, Rakibul, kind of follows in the long line of kind of left arm spinners that Bangladesh seem to produce. So I'm sure there's lots of plans that you've kind of devised to kind of combat that particular threat. Just in terms of the game itself tomorrow, I know there's been one game already played at St Kitts in your group, which was UAE and Canada. And I think UAE actually put up a pretty decent score batting first. I think it was something like 270 or 280. Do you kind of see it as being quite a high scoring affair?
Well, it's a nice ground. It's quite a small ground. I've been here quite a bit before when I was with the West Indies team. We used to play one-day internationals here and some T20 internationals. So I've been here quite a few times before, and it can be a very good wicket. If it's not, if it's not a flat wicket, it's a consistent bounce, but slowish. So that, I don't quite know what we're going to get tomorrow, and you never really do until those first few balls are bowled. But I would expect it would be a consistent bounce, maybe on the slightly slower side. But generally, a very nice place to play. Lovely ground. Guys had a good field yesterday. Did a long fielding session on it. It's in nice condition. All the nets that we've had out here so far have really spun a lot. They've been very slow, but have turned a great deal. I don't expect a huge spinning wicket. I think it'll be more on the slower side, and it's getting the pace of the pitch more than anything else, I think.
Well, yeah, as I was saying before, I think it'll be a fascinating game. I'm really looking forward to watching it. And I think the sense that I get, having kind of spoken to people in Bangladesh and other journalists and things, is that perhaps this kind of group of Bangladesh under-19 players aren't quite as kind of skilled or as talented as the group were 2 years ago. As you were saying, there are a couple of players from the team 2 years ago who are playing this time. So, as you were saying, the captain Rakibul, also the opening fast bowler Saqib is playing as well. So they'll certainly lend quite a lot of experience to the team. But I think the sense is that overall, perhaps they're not quite as talented as the previous group.
Yeah, no, that previous squad, the high, which is now the high performance team, and even as I said before, some of those have gone on. I mean, Afif Drubo's gone into the T20 side. Naeem has played a Test match last week. Mamadul Hassan Joy got 70 odd in that great Test match win out in New Zealand, record breaking Test match win, and so it's been lovely to see those players, 3 or 4 of them, kick on into the international side and actually perform as well. So it's great, and a very, very talented bunch of that high performance team. And I obviously last year with the pandemic, I was due to make a couple of other trips for camps, but it became very difficult with red travel lists and various things. So I actually missed a couple of camps that we were really looking forward to. But the hope is, into this summer, June, July, August, I'm due back out there. which will be nice. And I think there's a tour plan to go to Ireland, to take those players over to Ireland. So again, it'd be a good experience for them to come, slightly west and play in those type of pitches. In Ireland, you're going to get green seamers, which you don't normally get in Dakar. So, and that's what they need to do. They need to play on different pitches. It's how they expand their game and knowledge and experience. So that'll be good.
Absolutely. And, I think we've seen that recently during that sort of test series in New Zealand, in terms of that group of Bangladesh fast bowlers kind of learning quite quickly how to play and how to adapt their game on kind of different green surfaces. And actually, that was something that I wanted to come to. You've already sort of spoken about it there in terms of that historic test victory by 8 wickets that Bangladesh achieved over New Zealand at Mount Maunganui in that first test. And just interested from your point of view, how good was it to see people like Hassan Joy, people that you've worked with, kind of performing so well?
Yeah, no, look, I was delighted. I think, for him individually to go on and show him, he now knows that he can deliver at the top end of the game. I mean, it's a wonderful achievement. He's a lovely lad. Always looked at, a fine player from day one when I saw him. Very elegant player, very, technically correct, very well organised. So delighted for him and delighted for them as a team. It's not easy winning away from home now. I mean, you can see England really had a tough winter in Australia. A lot of teams go, but India have just gone to South Africa. They've just lost the test series. It's very difficult winning away from home. And New Zealand in particular, number one in the world, they don't lose many matches at home. So to beat them in a test match, Bangladesh, is outstanding. And one of the things when I first went over there, a couple of years ago, my message really to the HPC players was, look, we know we're good in Dakar on these slow turning pitches. We've got good spinners. Batters manipulate spin well. It's important, though, that when you go to Cape Town or Perth or you go to England when it's swinging, that you have a game that can cope with the extra bounce or the pace or the movement. So to go to New Zealand and win a test match, I think it's a great achievement for them. And it's now they've got to back it up, haven't they? And their next tours that come up, they've got to do it again. So, but it's shown that they can do it. And I think it's a fantastic result. Delighted for everyone involved with the team there and the management and everyone linked with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've kind of written about it quite a bit and did some podcasts in the immediate aftermath of that win. And yeah, it was a fantastic achievement. Slightly, I think the shine was taken off maybe a bit in terms of how they lost the second test. But yeah, like you say, I think there's lots of kind of positives for them to take forward into future games and future series. So yeah, let's hope they do. So yeah, I guess we've kind of moved off topic a little bit, but let's continue moving off topic, shall we? And I guess we can't not have you on and not talk about the Ashes. Obviously, as you were just saying, it's been a pretty miserable winter for England out in Australia. They're currently 3-0 down and potentially staring at another defeat in Hobart. They were just bowled out for 118 earlier on today. From your point of view, from a batting coach point of view, I mean, obviously there's lots of things that you can point to in terms of what's gone wrong, but purely from a batting point of view, I'm interested in your kind of take. There's been lots of chat about, quirky techniques, people batting on, using an off-stump guard, all that sort of thing. But if there was, one or two things that you might be able to pinpoint in terms of where they've gone wrong.
Yeah, I mean, look, and I think any tour away from at home, and especially in Australia, where it's, we know it's tough. If you don't get a good start in the series, it can become as much a mental thing as a technical thing. And they didn't get off to that good start, gone one down early on. So I think it's always difficult to turn the wheel then. You needed a good start. Didn't get that. What was interesting for me in the bits I've seen is in those early test matches, I think Australia were prepared to leave more balls in that channel just outside off stump. And I think the English batters got dragged in or drawn into playing at balls that I think people like Marnus Labuschagne in those early matches was leaving, and then making the bowlers come straight and then pick them off. So I think a lot of dismissals have been playing at balls that were potential leave deliveries, especially in Australia where you've got more bounce and obviously with the extra pace. If you can't get in line, then you're best to leave it and try to get very straight. You mentioned about the off-stump guard. I mean, there's a lot of world-class players who stand on middle and off-stump, right? And they have their head in and around middle and off-stump. Labuschagne is one. Steve Smith's another. I could actually run off a list of the world's top batters who generally stand in there. The issue is not necessarily standing on off-stump. The problem, if you stand on off-stump, becomes if you then drift and your head starts to get outside off stump. So if you have a bowler who's delivering from middle of the crease or wide of the crease, angling back into the stumps, and you start to move from a guard close to middle and off stump, and you start to go towards the initial line of the ball, you are now drifting outside off stump. So when it comes straight, you end up playing across the ball, LBW, you get bowled, or you play at balls you don't want. So the guard isn't the problem. The guard is fine as long as your body weight and your head is going back towards the stumps at the bowler's end, so it goes back straight. So I spend a lot of time working with top batters about being in and around middle and off, but keeping your balance and your weight back down the wicket. It might sound a technical thing, but actually you see a lot of players drifting and the head drifts to the early line of the ball. Babar Azam, the top players, they stand there, but they keep their balance and their weight very much straight down the ground. And that's really the key to it. And that's why Labuschagne, Smith, and those guys are very consistent with it, because their balance is going down the wicket, not across outside off stump. And I think that's where a lot of the issues have come from for me.
No, it's a brilliant technical insight. I guess, yeah, sometimes from the outside looking in, you hear about, issues with an off-stump guard, and it almost becomes, this kind of self-fulfilling prophecy, and without, understanding the nuances of it, as you've just explained.
Yeah, it's two things. They're linked together. So the guard is not the problem. The guard becomes a problem if you then drift further to the offside. Now it's a problem. But in and of itself, the guard is not the problem, as long as your weight and your head's going down the wicket. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. And I spend hours pretty much every day of my life dealing with that. Huge part of it is setups, triggers, where you are when the ball's being released from the hand and where your body weight is. And it's very difficult. If you start moving early to the offside, you can't come back and you end up playing across the ball. And then you'll either nick balls that you don't want to be playing at, or you'll play cross balls that are coming back straight. So the key is just keeping your alignment and your weight down the wicket.
Well, you never know. There might be, the odd England Test player who tunes in and ends up watching this YouTube video. If they do, then please take Toby's advice. Let's put that into practice and see what happens. I mean, putting a positive spin on things. I suppose Australia are 150 ahead with
you never know,
seven wickets in hand. So you never know.
No, you don't. You don't.
Could be a little run chase on there for England.
Yeah, for sure.
Which actually, I was thinking about this a bit earlier on today, that tomorrow there could be a double victory for England if England end up winning the Test. You never know. And if England under-19s end up winning against Bangladesh, that would be quite a momentous day, wouldn't it?
Oh, it'd be a big day. Obviously we're focused heavily on this match here and want to try to get a good start in the tournament. But yeah, England, if they get a couple of quick wickets, you never know in that match. You just don't know. The problem is with the pink ball, it always feels like it does a bit more. You're never completely in against the pink ball. You can lose wickets, and especially against that type of bowling attack like Australia's. The quality of their bowling is outstanding. The whole series, they've pretty much stayed fit. And they just relentless. You see off one, another one comes on, good pace, hard length, and with the pink ball and the extra movement off the seam, it's a tough challenge. Even a lowish score would still be a tough challenge. It's not going to be easy for them for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, let's hope that England can get a couple of early wickets tomorrow,
absolutely.
And then knock over the rest.
Absolutely.
Toby, I'm going to let you go because, as you were saying, I know you've got lots of...
I've got a quick turnaround. I've got to jump in this shower. I've got a quick jump in the shower and get down to the video. I've got 20 minutes, but it can be done, right? And I will get it done. Don't worry. I'll be done in the meeting on time.
Indeed. So good of you to kind of make time to sort of talk to us just a few hours before tomorrow's game. brilliant having you on, and best of luck tomorrow. Obviously, I'm always torn when England play Bangladesh, because I want both teams to do well.
Yeah, I
So
understand that.
hopefully it'll be a good game.
Absolutely, that's the main thing, and we'll hopefully see good talent and let the guys perform to the best of their ability, and that's what you want. And you want to showcase for them, and showcase their talents around the world. And it's great it's on TV and people can watch it. So looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Best of luck again.
Great,
And
thanks very much.
again.
Good to chat with you. Thanks ever so much. All right.
Cheers. Thanks.
Bye.
Cheers. Thanks, Toby. Bye.
Bye.
And thank you, everyone. Thanks for watching. And join us again on the Sight Screen Cricket Journal podcast. Until the next time, goodbye.